I can't explain to my husband why I won't have intercourse with him anymore. This is a throwaway. Husband uses Reddit, but mostly for gaming subs. I, 28F, and my husband, 41M, have been together for 4 years, 2 of which we have been married. We have had the usual problems, mostly about finances or silly disagreements, but these are typically solved quickly. We both pride ourselves for being open in our feelings and communication, so our disagreements don't last long. We share a lot of the same interests, but also have our own friends and lives. I feel lucky to have found him. Until recently, I felt like we were soulmates. My husband watches spicy content, as do I, but our tastes differ. We don't incorporate it into our intercourse lives by watching it together, and he watches a lot more than me. Sometimes he wants to try things he sees in porn, which he has always talked to me about first, and has always said something like, "Hey, I saw this in a spicy content," and then explained it. If it is something I think might be fun, I'm happy to comply. If it isn't, I refuse, and he lets it go. If we try it and I don't like it, we don't do it anymore, and our intercourse life has been nice. It isn't always mind-blowing intercourse, but honestly, we're past the honeymoon phase, and if we both have time for intercourse once a week, we are doing good. I've never before had a complaint in this part of our lives. I'm fairly sure he masturbates often, but I'm not the type to be upset about that. 2 weeks ago, we were having intercourse, having fun with it, and both enjoying ourselves. I don't want to be too graphic, but we were in a position where it is easy to zig instead of zag. In other words, he accidentally went from vaginal to butt at full thrust. It hurt, a lot. I immediately pulled away. He apologized. It seemed like an honest mistake. That night, we ended up continuing in a different position after a little while, and all seemed forgiven. Things happen. Intercourse is messy. About a week ago, we were having intercourse, and he did the same exact thing, but this time, we were in a different position. More importantly, because he was on top with my thighs held in his hands, and I on my back, I couldn't pull away like the first time. I did yelp and then tell him to stop, but it took him a few seconds to hear me, or so I thought, and he ended up thrusting a few times. But I thumped his chest to get his attention. He apologized again, and then, he said something like, "We could have just kept going. You enjoy butt." That's true, I do. If able to prepare both physically and mentally, I do not want a surprise, and I cannot express how much it hurt because I wasn't expecting it. Well, intercourse was over for that night. I was pissed and I felt and still feel disrespected. After this second time, it didn't seem like an accident. I mean, if he had wanted butt, we could have talked about it if he had warned me beforehand, because like I said, I do enjoy it although not all the time, and I need to prepare/be in the mood. The next day he was sulky and distant, as if he were the wrong party in this situation, which only served to piss me off more, and I just had this sneaking suspicion about the situation. In my 11 years of being intercoursally active, I have never had a partner accidentally do this before. I was off work that day after, while he went to work. When he left, I got onto our laptop with the full intention of checking his browser history to see what kind of spicy content he had been watching recently. As I said, he watches a lot of spicy content, and I had this feeling he was watching some degrading or borderline abusive spicy content, which I am neither into nor do I particularly want my husband to watch for tips on how to act in bed. I didn't realize this whole thing had a name. Wrong hole or surprise butt were his 2 most recent searches according to his history for the spicy content site he uses. And he had watched at least 20 different videos of it. I clicked on one of the videos. I have no idea if it was typical for that particular genre/search term, but the male actor just goes for it and female actress is nearly in tears. I mean, it could be a farce, right? She could be faking the pain, I don't know, but I wasn't when it happened to me. For days I have stewed on this without mentioning it to him. While he goes about his happy life thinking all is well. He got over his pouting. But how do I get over knowing my husband intentionally lived out his spicy content fantasy on me, by surprising me with butt? How do I tell my husband I won't have intercourse with him because I no longer trust him not to hurt me?